Well, I was going to do this little thing on James Comey and the Clintons and how he's been covering up their tracks since the 90s. He's had multiple investigations he was part of, and each and every time recommend no charges, let's let him skate, no problem, I was going to do that video, but I felt like, maybe I'll save that for Sunday. Sunday. So I've been ranting for a while on Zillow and watching the price movements of housing. This house has been listed for 700 days. This one's been listed for 317 days. This one's 500. And these outrageous prices we keep seeing. I keep telling myself, how could we have these maps just absolutely littered with those blue dots, which represent foreclosures on Zillow, and then the red dots, which represents regular person selling. And they're just, they're everywhere. It's like a viral outbreak if you look at the map. And Zillow only shows like 500 dots at any given screenshot. So if you zoom in, more pop up. You zoom in more pop up. That's how many there actually are. So even though we've seen some screenshots, you ain't seen nothing. Yet I said in my video, how can how can we still be peak 2006 high price peak again? How is this happening right now with this much massive glut of stuff on the market? And someone replied through an email to me through realistnews.net, hit the contact button. Dr. Jack. I think he may have nailed it. And I'm going to read you what his reply to me was. However, I have some additional information that, again, by chance, coincidence, I got my hands on today over at Silver Doctors through a Liberty Blitzkrieg, Michael Krieger's site. Are U.S. taxpayers now on the hook for risky Wall Street real estate-backed bonds? But he goes to make some interesting points in there that said, oh, maybe that's also why the markets are being, or how they're being propped up with these artificial fake values of way higher than they ever should be. So that goes in with what this guy's reply was. So I have two things to talk about, both related. So I replied back, Dr. Jack, step in my office. You're hired. You absolutely nailed it. I'm going to do a video of your email response here. And that's why I'm here right now. And then I want to read you the part from Michael Krieger from that Silver Doctors posted, because it goes hand in hand with this. But what I found there, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, now it makes sense. But first, let's read what he said to me. I watched your video on 5/12/2017. Funny, I was up late the night before studying Zillow myself, and was looking at the housing prices come down. Concerning the reason why the housing market is manipulated. Banks own the house via foreclosure. This is listed on their balance sheet at FVM, which is full fair market value, price they paid when they foreclosed. Why is this important? If the banks allow the houses to flood the market, then the prices will come down. If that happens, then the banks will have to revalue all the homes that they own on their balance sheet. Keeping in mind, a lot of what was on their balance sheet went to the Federal Reserve, but they still have a ton more on their balance sheet still. This would lower the amounts on the balance sheet and screw up their balance sheets. If assets go down, then the liabilities or owner's equity must come down to be in balance. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. If banks had to write down their balance sheets like they did in 2008, well, at least the ones that they didn't get to sell to the Federal Reserve, right? Then the banks would be in more trouble than they are now. This is why you reported the other day about JP Morgan telling the other banks that by the end of the year, they will have cash flow and deposit problems. You are right when it pops. By the end of the year, it will be ugly like I've never seen before. When it turns, individuals will get the hose. It is going to be worse than 2008 because what will the Federal Reserve do next? They will print like there is no tomorrow. This is why China has been buying hard, real assets and getting themselves out of U.S. dollar and U.S. government bonds on a very slow, methodical basis. You think you have been busy doing videos in the past? He says, you will be so busy as there will be so much information coming out between the auto business crashing already happening, housing market already happening, jobs been happening and will pick up. Because here is how it works, as you know. You own a business, You know Christmas season is coming. You use your lines of credit with various banks to purchase inventory for the upcoming Christmas season, if you're a retailer. Or if you make stuff, you use your lines of credit to purchase your raw materials, hire employees to make the stuff, etc., in order to be ready for the Christmas buying season. Or any other season for that matter. Think RV season or hunting season or vacation season. Once the banks are forced to cut back on credit because the banks themselves need to be liquid themselves, the whole thing will come to a grinding halt. Because what the businesses do when they then sell the stuff on credit, whether it is a retailer or manufacturer, what do they then do? They sell those receivables for cash today. It is called factoring. It is all about cash flow. Back in 08 and 09, when CIT Group, which was the largest business that was in the factoring businesses, who would buy up small to medium-sized business accounts receivables for cash today, not fire sale prices, just in the normal course of business, stopped doing so as they were having cash issues themselves because the people who were supposed to be paying their bills, the accounts receivable customers, stopped. CIT went belly up, and this is why it got so ugly in 2008 and to 14. Which I don't think CIT went belly up like bankrupt. I think they were part of the bailout, actually. I think they had to get government assistance. But I'm not going to look right now. But I'm pretty sure they're around. They're not exactly belly up. But nonetheless, had they not got the help, it would have been over for them and all their customers. I remember back in 91 to 92 getting my MBA. One of my fellow student friends worked for Sunbank, now SunTrust. His job was to call business notes in and give 30-day notices. If these businesses were in violation of their loan covenants in any way, even if they were never late on a payment, they were calling in the loans. I remember my friend telling me how much he hated his job. This will happen again. Years ago, all credit card companies went to variable rates on their cards. Look at your card statement at the interest rate. It will show a big V. Once they start raising those rates for everyone, it will kill the economy. Remember, it will start around October 1st or so, as the federal government's fiscal year ends September 30th. Everyone you've been reaching and talking about is right. Concerning Bitcoin, I was studying this a little more. A person who has studied international finance, it finally occurred to me one of the reasons why Bitcoin is doing so well and will continue to go up is that the rest of the world is buying up Bitcoin because they have been getting screwed by their respective governments and their money printing, so they understand that a Bitcoin is actually more stable than their own respective currency. These people in other countries are the ones who are also buying up gold and silver, unlike the idiots here in the U.S. As I continue to buy more gold and silver and a little bit of Bitcoin here and there, it makes me wonder, how many years will it take for the people living here in the U.S. to realize the value of gold and silver and Bitcoin? We are talking about the average moron here. For example, it takes about 10 years, give or take 2 to 3 of them, for the morons to get aware. Think back. Remember Carlton Sheets' real estate seminars from the late 80s and mid-90s? Then he just went away. Then there was really nothing, as the big thing was the E-Trade, Ameritrade in the 90s, when they used to do commercials of old, brings us back to 2017, when they are now, and have been doing heavily for the last 2 years, seminars with Armandos, as seen on TV, Flip That House, seminars everywhere. So this tells us the collapse is very close, once again, probably by the end of the year. Now, will people here in the U.S. start buying up physical gold and silver? The average moron, the guy that works at the gas station or grocery store, I do not know. I do not know how they will educate the public like they do with shows like Flip That House to get ready to get the sheep into a frenzy to try to prop up the market. There is a reason why JP Morgan keeps buying physical silver. They know, and they have the patience. Patience, my friend, is the key. I have to remind myself of that too almost every day. And speaking of that, again, if you want silver, sdbullion.com/jsnip4. Get your awesome coupon code to get a nice 10-ounce bar at spot price for first-time customers only. It's a little deal they made me for my subscribers. And it is in my description box, the link. So now I want to add to that by talking about this article, speaking of SD Bullion, that Silver Doctors has, which was written by Michael Krieger from the Liberty Blitzkrieg libertyblitzkrieg.com, his blog or whatever. He says, first of all, the title, are the U.S. taxpayers now on the hook for risky Wall Street real estate-backed bonds? The answer is actually yes, you know that. But there's other stuff in here that I think really answered why these outrageous prices are still there. It makes no sense. With so much real estate, both foreclosed and people selling, there's so few buyers compared to sellers right now, it's insane. There's so many. I mean, wait a minute. So few buyers versus the seller. The sellers, go to Zillow, pick up any major city in any state, and you will see, just zoom in a little bit, blue ones, red ones, oh my God, it's out of control. So how could the prices be so high when there is a glut of something? It makes no sense, right? This might answer it. Is it 2007? I'm fairly certain very few of you have heard of broker price opinions, or BPOs. But it's something I think we should all become aware of, given the influence of BPOs in the market for valuing residential real estate securitized bonds. Before we get to that, let's revisit a little contemporary American robber baron history. In the immediate aftermath of the U.S. financial crisis, financial oligarchs immediately got to work helping Main Street climb out of the Wall Street-created ditch by buying foreclosed homes from hordes of newly destitute Americans and then renting them back to those same people at, as you know now, much higher prices. I wrote many articles about this trend over the years, starting with my January 2013 piece, America, Meet Your New Slumlord, Wall Street. And here's an excerpt from that. Well, they aren't really your new slumlord in the sense you have been debt slaves to the financial system for decades. What I really mean is that it is now becoming overt and literal. Literal because financiers are now the main players in the real estate market and are buying all the homes ordinary citizens were kicked out of over the past few years. Yep, we bailed out the financial system so that financiers with access to cheap credit from the Federal Reserve can buy up all of America's real estate so that they can rent it back to you later. So he says, fast forward a few years and private equity is frantically packaging these real estate rental properties into bonds. So now what we did before was we packaged all the mortgages, including a ton of garbage mortgages, and then packaged a few good ones, AAA good ones, and then we're able to sell them all as all AAA. Here's a big package of mortgages, AAA quality. And then it was found out a ton of them were not AAA quality. They're defaulting and the banks are in trouble, right? That's what happened. So now they're doing that with rental properties. Package them up and then give us some bonds we can sell, packaged and rinse and repeat. In order to value the real estate collateral, you need some sort of appraisal. But the normal process of actually looking at properties is seen to be too costly and too time consuming. So market players, you know, the club, the elite, the banksters, are cutting corners by using broker price opinions, or BPOs. Now, where else did they cut corners back in 2004, 5, 6, 7? That's right. They didn't want to go to the normal route down to the county appraiser's office or recorder's office. They went to electronic MERS, Mortgage Electronic Registration System, created by bankers for bankers. Literally, it was. And that's where they're going to register at because it costs too much money dealing with these pesky cities and stuff in counties. So they cut corners, and it cost them too. But then again, they got the bailout, so did it really cost them? So anyways, they're cutting corners again, and instead of using a real appraiser, they're using this thing called broker price opinions, or BPOs. Fast forward a few years, as Bloomberg reports, this practice is coming under increased scrutiny, and for good reason. U.S. securities regulators are investigating whether bonds backed by single-family rental homes and sold by Wall Street's biggest residential landlords used overvalued property assessments. Oh, you mean they lied? Said they're worth more? No, not that again. No. Radian Group, Inc.'s Green River Capital unit is one of the market participants that received a request for information from the Securities and Exchange Commission in March about broker price opinions, or BPOs, the company said in a regulatory filing late Friday. Green River provides BPOs that are used to value real estate in securitizations. Really? The agency has been looking at whether BPOs were wrongly inflated, and similar letters were sent to other companies, potentially serving as a starting point for an industry-wide probe. According to a person with knowledge of the matter, the person asked not to be identified because the matter is private. Green River is one of several firms that provides BPOs to the units of private equity firms and other investors who bought up hundreds of thousands of properties in cities across the U.S. after the housing bubble burst, many of them focused on distressed homes whose owners were evicted during the Great Recession. Never forget, what's good for Wall Street is good for Main Street, right? Also, they hate us for our freedoms. Broker price opinions are a cheaper and less stringent way to evaluate what a property is worth than a pesky old appraisal would be. Property valuations are a sensitive subject in the housing industry because regulators said inflated appraisals contributed to the housing bubble a decade ago. And now we have BPOs doing the same thing because they're cheaper. Cheaper to get them to do it. And guess what? Many times they don't even walk into the house to appraise it. They drive by. We drove by and looked at it. Are you ready for this? The biggest private equity landlords, led by, who's that name? Blackstone. Big, mighty, powerful Blackstone. The biggest private equity landlords, led by Blackstone Group LP's Invitation Homes, have sold more than $15 billion in bonds since 2013, backed by some 120,000 rental homes, according to data from Morningstar. And many of those deals were valued using BPOs. One recent bond deal tied to Invitation Homes was even backed by guarantees from U.S. taxpayers. Heads, they win. Tails, you lose. Please tell me this is a joke, he says. The BPOs are key elements in securitizations, determining basic figures such as how much rent to charge tenants, how much leverage and risk is embedded in the deal, and how much investors could recover if the bonds go sour. Many of the securities were assigned, just like last time, AAA rating grades and sold off to investors such as pension funds. Is this 2006 or 2017? No, here's where it gets truly disturbing. In traditional real estate deals, these opinions help establish sales prices, but in these bond deals, they help estimate how much could be recovered in a liquidation. Some analysts say the BPOs, they don't take into account a possible plunge in home prices, and the values tend to be more optimistic than a full appraisal. Unlike appraisals, BPOs also are not necessarily done by a licensed professional, nor does the inspector always go inside to even look around, which is standard procedure for an appraiser, that they would have to go inside. In one April securities offering of about $944.5 million worth, so a package of mortgages or again, securitization, rental ones, whatever, worth almost $1 billion, Green River submitted BPOs that relied on drive-by evaluations, and homes were assumed to be repaired and in good condition. Assumed to be repaired and in good condition, according to a deal prospectus issued by Fannie Mae. The BPO is not intended to be a representation as to the past, present, or future market value or values of any of the properties. The underlying mortgage in that deal, tied to rental properties owned by Invitation Homes, was guaranteed by you and me via Fannie Mae. That's the first time a taxpayer-backed home finance company has guaranteed such a loan. Freddie Mac is also looking into getting involved in the market by providing its guarantee. You have to be kidding me. When private equity landlords opted to use BPOs instead of appraisals in their securitizations, some investors expressed skepticism and bond graders applied discounts to the BPOs. Moody's Investor Service, for example, applied a 15% haircut to BPO valuations when grading a transaction last August, citing inherent risks of using BPOs on residential properties instead of an actual appraiser. I'm sure it'll be fine, and if not, who cares? The U.S. taxpayer is always available for a good fleecing. If you enjoyed this post and want to contribute to genuine independent media, consider visiting our support page in Liberty, Michael Krieger. And again, I'll be linking this article. I'll say it again. We learned nothing. As I've been saying for years, 2008 bailout means nothing. It'll get worse. It'll get worse. It'll get worse. The bubbles will get bigger until they get destroyed. And when it gets destroyed, it'll be coming crashing down far worse than they would have ever imagined. Far worse than it would have been in 2008 if they would just let it go then and let it rebuild. Nope. They did the same thing. AAA rating for this garbage. We're saying it's valued way up here as a BPO instead of an appraiser. All this is packaged and great. Your rent should be very high up here. So your investors have nothing to worry about. So wait a minute. So that's why my rent's so high. That's why housing prices are so high, because the BPO said this is what the house is worth, and this because it's worth so much, this is what your rent's going to be worth. So the renters are getting screwed. Homeowners are getting screwed because you may think, oh, no, I'm not getting screwed. I own my house, and it's up. I got a good profit I could walk away from right now. Well, guy, I got news for you. It's only right now that you're going to get that deal because of what I'm making a point on almost every day now. You better hurry up and get the hell out of that house if you plan on taking any kind of profit, because the crash is coming and real estate will be going with it. I would be selling any and all property that I owned. If I had rental houses and stuff, I would sell it all and hang on to that cash. And when this crap goes down, you may find, oh my gosh, I just bought back all the properties that I sold 2 years ago when the market was at the all-time high. I just bought them all back. And I paid half of what I got. Oh my gosh, now I can buy, instead of 4 houses that I own and rent out, I'm going to buy 8. I'm going to buy 8 with the same money. That could be you if you're in that position, but it's going to take cash money to do it. So anyways, I think we now know why the prices are beyond insane. The rents are beyond insane. They lied, AAA rating. Even Moody's said, we don't care. We're still going to knock 15% off because we don't like that. We can see this is not good. And who's backing that or not backing it? Well, yeah, backing it, you and I, some of these deals. Taxpayer will back those. Other ones tied to pension funds, don't worry. AAA rating, it's fine. Wait a minute, you guys had AAA rating back in 2005 and 6 and 7. That turned out not to be AAA, and the ratings agencies were involved in the scam too because they don't get paid to give bad ratings all the time. They got to have good ratings. And if you're giving out good ratings, the ones who need the ratings will come to your company to get the ratings. One hand washes the other, except for the taxpayer hand. There's nobody washing the taxpayer or you scratch my back, I scratch yours. There's no one scratching it. But there are a lot of hands from government, banks, finance, Federal Reserve, digging into your pockets every chance they get. Even in a different kind of way, such as your property value used to be worth something decent, now it's been destroyed. Oh, wait, it's way back up again. Life is good. The recovery must have worked. Oh, wait, this crap just happened that J-Sip4 has been talking about. It finally happened. Oh, my God, my house got destroyed. And guess who's going to walk this time? There are going to be so many people walking from their houses this time because last time they met someone or my friend's friend of a friend, they walked from their house, they end up settling with the bank. Oh, but I didn't do that. Yeah, I know. But now you're aware. So if this ever happens again, they'll be walking again if they're in a house. And the guy who didn't decide to walk and stuck with it this whole time, he's seen enough. I sat back. My property was underwater, what it was worth. Finally, 2015, 16, 17, the price went back up. I was above water. I was feeling pretty good. And you did it again for the same reasons. Oh, my God, I'm furious. I'm out of my mind. I'm ready to kill somebody. Oh, my God, I'm walking. I've had it with the banks. I've had it with the government. I'm done. And I'm going to be there. Good for you, sir. I like your house a lot. So when you leave, I'm going to wait for the price to come down a little bit more. Bank will own it. I'll make the bank a cash offer because they're going to be desperate for cash, according to Cliff High and his whale bots. So I need to unload some silver and buy that house from you. I'll be right back. Which actually, not you. You don't live there anymore. You believed in the system and it screwed you for the 15th time. Me, I never believed in the system once I woke up in 05. And I've lived my life now understanding the system is completely corrupt, fraudulent, and it will never change. So you must take your mindset and say, how can I live on planet Earth while that's happening and still try to prosper and actually live through this, like, you know, get around it. You can start by getting precious metals. You can start by getting some Bitcoin, some Ethereum coin. So one day, and I'm telling you, I feel that clock is ticking down. When I say one day, boy, I don't think I'm going to be here in a, oh man, it's 5 years. Man, Jason, man, you were saying that in 2017. It's been 5 years. It's 2022 now, man. 2023, man. It still hasn't happened. I don't think there's a chance in hell we're going that far. I think it's, like I said, I think by the end of this year, it'll be out in front of everybody. Oh my gosh. We got problems worse than we thought. All the problems the politicians said they fixed, they didn't fix. It's worse than they said it was. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And then it's going to go to hell in a handbasket because then faith in government is completely gone. Which, funny enough, Martin Armstrong says is this year. This is it when it starts, 2017, 2018. Faith in government, it's going away. And when you don't have faith in government, you don't have faith in any of the systems, the financial systems, anything that's even part of the government. It's not going to be pretty. It's just not. Sure, I'd like for him to string it on for 5 years. I'd like to come out here and say, guys, I missed it, man. Holy crap, did I miss it? It's 5 years from 2017, and silver still hasn't really moved that much. Maybe Bitcoin didn't break $2,000 again. That was it, or $1,900. But things are kind of stuck together. You know, I don't really see too many bad things happening. You know, again, I'm a math guy, numbers. I don't care about the emotion. Just give me the data and let me analyze what the data says. And since a child can analyze this, the math, it's just math. That's all it is, math. This doesn't even kind of look good, and it can't end well, period. So, therefore, it ain't going 4 or 5 years from now. Not happening. There is a documentary I just watched today. I think it was called Oblivion. Aaron Dykes. Or Oblivious. Aaron Dykes. It's called, Obsolete. Obsolete. Aaron Dykes. I downloaded it, put it on a little thumb drive, brought it over to the Android TV box thing, turned it on, watched it over there just a little while ago. It's like 50 minutes. Great video. Great documentary. Obsolete meaning humans. We're becoming obsolete. They're computerizing everything. We want $15 an hour minimum wage. Okay, fine. We'll give a few people $15 an hour. The rest of you are fired, and we're bringing in, self-ordering devices. Go to Walmart, self-checkout. Home Depot, self-checkout. Lowe's, self-checkout. We're being replaced. And they're going to be floating, as I've talked about, this universal basic income. And they show in here this study they did with rats. A rat population over 2 years. They had their own little cages. They had everything they would need. And they did an experiment to see if we don't make the rats work for their food, actually go and get it and stuff. We just hand them everything they need. Universal basic income. We want to see what happens. And I'm going to tell you, it did not end well. Even though the rats had at their disposal everything they needed, water and food, and it did not end well. And part of the not ending well part was, well, since we now have everything we need, my mindset of, I don't know if we should raise kids yet because it's going to be expensive. Oh, wait, we have universal basic income. Let's go ahead and have some more kids. Population would grow, causing strains and nothing. But it wasn't just the population growth. Very interesting. Again, Obsolete, Aaron Dykes. Find it online. It's just free, I believe. I found it very easily and downloaded it. So check that out. It's really neat. Take care.